Picture this. It's December 2025, and your family group chat is blowing up with plans for the annual Christmas gathering. Who's hosting? Who's bringing what time everyone's arriving, the same traditions that happen every single year. And for the first time in your life, you type two letters. No. Not maybe, not I'll try, just no. You're not hosting this year. You're not doing the gift exchange. You're not showing up to the family dinner that drains you for weeks afterward. You're opting out of traditions that have never served you, only exhausted you. The reaction isn't just surprise, it's rage. It's guilt-tripping on a level you didn't think was possible. It's your family treating you like you've committed an unforgivable act, because to them, you have. You've broken the one rule empaths aren't allowed to break. You've prioritized yourself over their comfort. Society tells you that holiday traditions are about love, about family, about connection, that participating is how you show you care, that saying no to Christmas dinner or New Year's plans means you're selfish, ungrateful, or broken. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. Most holiday traditions aren't about connection, they're about control. They're about maintaining family systems that rely on certain people sacrificing themselves year after year, and empaths are always the ones expected to sacrifice. The psychology of tradition is more about social enforcement than genuine meaning. Traditions create predictability, which makes people comfortable. When you're the person who always shows up, always participates, always accommodates, your presence becomes part of that predictable comfort. When you say no, you're not just declining an invitation, you're disrupting a system that's been built on your compliance. Your family isn't upset because they'll miss you. They're upset because your absence forces them to confront the dysfunction you've been buffering all these years. Think about why traditions feel so mandatory. It's not because they're inherently valuable. It's because breaking them triggers social punishment. Your brain has been conditioned to fear that punishment, the guilt, the judgment, the accusation that you're ruining everything. Meet Rachel, who said no to hosting Christmas for the first time in 12 years. She'd spent over a decade cooking for 20 people, decorating her house, managing everyone's dietary restrictions and family drama. Every December, she'd spend 3 weeks preparing and 2 weeks recovering. In December 2025, she sent a simple message. I'm not hosting Christmas this year. Someone else will need to. The family group chat went silent for 6 hours. Then her mother called, not to ask if Rachel was okay, to tell her she was being selfish and ruining Christmas for everyone. Her brother accused her of tearing the family apart. Her sister suggested she was going through something and needed help. Her aunt posted passive-aggressive comments on social media about people who abandon their families during the holidays. Nobody asked why Rachel said no. They just wanted her compliance back. Rachel realized the tradition wasn't about family togetherness. It was about her labor. The moment she stopped providing that labor, the love disappeared and was replaced with hostility. The tradition only worked because she'd been willing to sacrifice herself to maintain it. This is the concept of tradition as extraction. Many family traditions exist not because they bring joy to everyone, but because they extract labor and compliance from specific people, usually empaths who won't say no. The tradition is maintained through guilt and social pressure. The neuroscience of guilt shows that your brain processes social rejection as physical pain. When your family guilt trips you for saying no to traditions, your nervous system experiences it as a genuine threat. That's why saying no feels so terrifying. Your brain is trying to protect you from exile. But here's what your brain doesn't understand. The punishment for saying no is often less damaging than the cost of continuing to say yes. Every year you participate in traditions that drain you, you're teaching your nervous system that your needs don't matter and that your worth depends on service. Consider Mike, who said no to the annual New Year's Eve party his family had been hosting for 30 years. He'd always attended, always been the reliable one who showed up and helped and never complained. At 42, he decided he wanted to spend New Year's quietly at home, instead at a loud party that gave him sensory overload. When he declined the invitation, his family acted like he'd announced he was disowning them. His father called him weak, his mother cried and said he was breaking her heart. His siblings sent him articles about the importance of family and mental health, implying he was having some kind of crisis. Mike wasn't having a crisis, he was having a boundary. For the first time, he was acknowledging that this tradition didn't serve him, and never had. He'd been attending out of obligation, not desire. And the moment he stopped obliging himself, his family couldn't handle it. The rage that comes from families when empaths say no to traditions reveals what the tradition actually was, a compliance test. If you show up and participate despite your own needs, you pass. If you prioritize yourself, you fail. The tradition isn't about being together, it's about proving you'll sacrifice for the group. This is called loyalty through suffering. The family structure requires certain members to suffer, to give up their time, energy, comfort, preferences, to prove they're loyal. Empaths typically fill this role because their nature makes them vulnerable to guilt and social pressure. Think about the language used when you say no. You're abandoning the family, you're ruining the holiday, you're being selfish. All of this language frames your self-care as an attack on others. Your boundary becomes recast as aggression. Meet Jennifer, who said no to the family gift exchange for Christmas 2025. She'd participated for 20 years, spending money she didn't have on gifts for 15 relatives who never seemed to appreciate them. This year, she decided to opt out and spend that money on herself instead. Her family didn't just disagree with her decision, they launched a campaign to change her mind. Her aunt sent her guilt-inducing messages about how much the gift exchange means to everyone. Her cousin posted in the group chat about how sad it would be if Jennifer wasn't part of the tradition. Her mother called crying. Jennifer held firm. She explained calmly that the gift exchange had become financially stressful for her and that she needed to prioritize her own financial health. The response was immediate. She was accused of being materialistic, of not understanding the spirit of Christmas, of valuing money over family. Nobody acknowledged that the tradition had been costing her money she didn't have for 2 decades. Nobody offered to help her financially or adjust the tradition to make it more affordable. They just wanted her to keep participating regardless of the cost to her. Her suffering was part of the tradition. The psychology of sunk cost explains part of why families react so violently to someone opting out. If you've been participating in a tradition for years, the family has invested in the belief that you'll continue forever. Your no forces them to confront that their expectation was an assumption, not an agreement. But deeper than sunk cost is the fear that if one person can say no, others might follow. Your boundary threatens the entire system. If the empath can opt out, what's stopping everyone else from prioritizing their own needs? The family structure depends on certain people never saying no. Think about how traditions get started versus how they get maintained. They often start organically with genuine joy or connection, but they get maintained through obligation and guilt. By the 10th year, nobody's asking if people still want to do this. They're just demanding compliance. Consider David, who said no to traveling home for Christmas 2025. He lived across the country, and the trip always cost him over $1,000 and a week of vacation time. Every year he arrived exhausted, spent a stressful few days managing family dynamics, and left more drained than when he came. This year, he decided to stay home and have a quiet Christmas by himself.
The reaction was explosive. His mother called him every day for a week, crying and begging him to reconsider. His father sent him a long message about responsibility and family duty. His siblings accused him of choosing himself over the people who raised him.
David tried to explain that the travel was exhausting him, that he needed rest, that he'd visited a different time of year when it was less expensive and chaotic. None of that mattered. His family didn't care about his well-being. They cared about his presence. He was supposed to show up regardless of cost. The confidence it takes to say no to holiday traditions as an empath is massive. You're going against years of conditioning that taught you your value comes from accommodating others. You're risking social rejection from the people you've been taught to prioritize above yourself. But here's what happens when you hold that boundary. You discover which relationships were built on love versus obligation. The people who respect your no and work to maintain connection anyway are showing you real care. The people who punish you for it are showing you that your worth to them was always conditional. Think about the difference between invitation and obligation. An invitation respects your autonomy to decline. An obligation uses guilt and pressure to force compliance. Most family traditions present themselves as invitations but function as obligations. Meet Lisa, who said no to the annual family Christmas photo tradition for 2025. Every year, her family gathered in matching outfits for a professional photo shoot that took hours, cost money, and required everyone to perform happiness whether they felt it or not. Lisa found it exhausting and inauthentic. When she declined to participate, her family didn't just express disappointment, they tried to force her. Her mother offered to pay for her outfit. Her sister said they'd schedule the shoot around Issa's availability. Her brother suggested she was being dramatic and should just show up for 1 hour. Lisa said no to all of it. She didn't want to be in the photo. She didn't want to perform happiness she didn't feel. She didn't want to spend her December afternoon pretending everything was perfect for social media. Her authenticity threatened the family's curated image. Her family proceeded with the photo shoot and posted it online with a caption about how almost everyone was there, passive-aggressively highlighting Lisa's absence. They punished her refusal by making it public and framing her as the problem. Lisa realized the tradition wasn't about capturing family memories, it was about maintaining an image. Her presence was required not because they'd miss her, but because her absence disrupted the illusion they were presenting to others. She was a prop in someone else's performance. The transformation that happens when you start saying no to traditions that don't serve you isn't gentle. Your family will likely escalate their pressure. They'll try guilt, then anger, then bargaining, then public shaming. They'll use every tool they have to get your compliance back.
But if you hold firm, something shifts. Either the family adjusts and learns to respect your boundaries, or they reveal that their connection to you was always conditional on your service. Both outcomes are valuable information. The psychology of boundary holding shows that the first no is always the hardest. Your nervous system is flooded with fear of rejection, but each subsequent no gets easier as your brain learns that the threatened consequences either don't happen or aren't as devastating as feared. Think about what you're actually losing when you say no to traditions that drain you. You're losing the performance. You're losing the obligation. You're losing the exhaustion. The family connection you're afraid of losing, if it can't survive you having boundaries, it was never real connection. Consider what you gain: your time, your energy, your resources, your peace. The ability to spend holidays in ways that actually restore you instead of depleting you. The freedom to create new traditions that serve your actual needs and values. Meet Amanda, who said no to all family holiday events for December 2025 and instead spent the month traveling alone. Her family acted like she'd committed an unforgivable betrayal, But Amanda had the most peaceful, restorative December of her adult life. She returned in January to find that her family had survived the holidays without her just fine. The traditions continued. Other people stepped up to fill roles she'd always filled. The world didn't end. Her family was upset, but they were functional. Amanda realized she'd been operating under the belief that her participation was essential, that everything would fall apart without her. But that belief had been installed by the family system to keep her compliant. She wasn't essential, she was just convenient. January 2026 starts different for empaths who said no in December. You're not recovering from over-participation. You're not carrying everyone else's expectations and disappointments. You're starting the year knowing that your needs matter and that you can prioritize them even when others disagree. This holiday season, give yourself permission to say no to traditions that exhaust you, cost you more than they give, or exist only through your compliance. The families that can adapt to your boundaries are worth keeping. The ones that can't were always going to punish you eventually. So when they ask why you're saying no to Christmas dinner, New Year's plans, or whatever tradition has been draining you for years, you don't owe them an explanation that satisfies them, because the only answer they'll accept is yes.